Hello and welcome back to another video. I've finally got round to putting up my sub 1 hour Alpe attempt. As you can see, I'm going to put some stuff on the screen, but essentially I'm comparing myself to the last time I did it, which was in September, or the last time I recorded myself doing it, which was in September, which was at the start of my sort of ZRL journey, if you will. So yeah, that's in the bottom right corner because I started doing the Alpe attempt at about 3 o'clock. And then very quickly I was doing it in the pitch black, which is not ideal. So I'm going to look at some key metrics for why I think I managed to crack the 1 hour on the Alpe this time. So if we look back in September, I had an FTP of about 220 watts, which put me at just as like a top D category rider, about 2.5 watts per kilo FTP. But my weight at the time was 82 kilos. So, going up the Alpe sub 1 hour is kind of notorious at this point that you've got to hold 3.2 watts per kilo average. And going into this, I thought I'd have a decent chance at it because I've been able to increase my FTP quite substantially over the last 3 months. So from September to now, which is December, I've effectively put on about 50 watts to my FTP, which is almost a whole watt per kilogram in body weight. And yeah, also my body weight's come down 4 to 5 kilos. I'll put it on the screen so you can see. So, all the ingredients for a sub 1 hour is there. I just needed to put in a big effort to do it. I've always found on the Alpe specifically that I go way too hard at the start and then slow down towards the middle, and then at the end I managed to kick it up a gear again. So yeah, trying to smooth out the power. As you can see at the bottom, there's a few spikes into the red, which is probably because I'm doing this on 100% trainer difficulty. As you can see, when it kicks up, I am in really low cadence in my lowest gear. So yeah, that's probably a bit my fault, but I actually did most of the attempts standing. You can't see it. I've covered over my webcam because it's just black. Every now and then you see a glimpse of my shimmering white body, but it's not worth looking at. So yeah, the technique has changed. Before I used to have it on a low trainer difficulty and spin the whole way up, so at a comfortable RPM of between 80 to 90 RPM. Whereas for this sub 1 hour attempt, obviously I did it 100% trainer difficulty. And it basically meant I had to get out of the saddle, which meant I could put more power down to sort of keep my average power a bit higher than I was anticipating. So as you can see, as the attempt goes on, there's some more red appearing on the graph than there is orange. That's because I'm sort of finding that if I just leave it too long, then I'm just like end up dipping my power down. So when it's really steep, I try and keep my watts above like 260, and then when it's like flattens out, I struggle to keep 260 watts because I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because of the cadence difference, but I definitely preferred it when it was like above 7 or 8% and I was able to put my body weight through the pedals. But yeah, at this point we're a good, what are we, on the 13th corner, so almost halfway there I think. And as you can see, my heart rate is in a pretty good place right now. 160 BPM I think is decent. Before I used to be doing this at like 175. If you can see in the bottom right corner, I didn't have my heart rate monitor on, that's a bit annoying. Yeah, I used to do this at FTP and I would be gassed. Like holding my FTP used to be so hard, whereas like as I've got fitter and my FTP is like more and more accurate, I suppose, I'm much more. First thing, I thought FTP was an hour's power, but everywhere like I keep trying to find my FTP like on Zwift Power and stuff, it always does the 20-minute. That is like the maximum sort of power average. So is FTP a 20-minute power or an hour's power? Because I thought my FTP was 250 and I managed on this Alpe attempt to hold 260, I'm pretty sure. So if someone could clear that up in the comment section, that would be very useful. I think another thing that sort of helped let me crack the 1 hour was the mentality towards the switchbacks or the corners. Before, if you look in the bottom right corner as I stop pedaling, I basically use the corners as like as like respite. So like I spin the legs out, like try and get a lactic acid out, and then when the gradient kicks up again, I carry on with like the power I'm supposed to hold. Whereas in my sub 1 hour attempt, I basically try and ramp the power up around the corners just to try and like make up some time, because I noticed that if you look on the left, like if you go up to the switchback with say an average of 250, and if you roll around that switchback, sometimes it will drop a watt or two. So it did make quite a big impact. So yeah, I think that kind of mentality of like not having a rest on those switchbacks. Obviously, you can't really help it if the power dips down, because obviously the trainer is like trying to figure out what the hell's going on, because it's gone from 10% to 5%. But yeah, I think just trying to be like ruthless with your power, and yeah, it's definitely a mental thing, because obviously at this point your legs are fatigued, and they definitely want to give up. But what I found is that sort of mixing up standing and sitting, and then also thinking about like pulling rather than pushing on the pedals, so just trying to trick your brain into thinking it's doing something different, and not just like a monotonous like turning at 90 rpm as if you're doing like a TT or something that just happens to be uphill. Whereas before, I used to just sit down, and I never used to stand up, whereas I did most of this attempt stood up. So yeah, maybe there's something in that, because now I've got a new turbo trainer. I often find myself standing up, but that's mainly because I use 100% trainer difficulty when I'm racing, so I kind of have to, otherwise I'll just get like stuck under the pedals. Okay, I'm going to skip forward a couple of corners because it was getting a bit boring, even for me just editing this video. So we're at about 812 meters of elevation, so we've gone a fair chunk of the way here. The heart rate's crept up now to 170, 175 on a good day. But yeah, keeping that average speed pretty high. And again, at this point on the last attempt, I was toast. I'm already started like, coasting and like sitting up in the saddle. At this point in my latest attempt, my PR attempt, like I'm still holding on to the bars, I'm grinding it out. Like I even get off the bike, Jesus, like I'm not committed to this at all. That's how like the lack of fitness just affects your overall motivation, because before I was like, I'm not going to get sub 1 hour, I'm not going to beat my PB or whatever, so I may as well just get off the bike. I think I actually got off the bike to open the door because I was struggling that much. But yeah, in the PR attempts, I start ramping it up now, because it doesn't give you like an overall time. Oh, it does. 49 minutes, yeah. So at this point I wasn't completely convinced I was going to crack the 1 hour, so I basically just like give it some extra beans, try and make sure that I'm not slipping below my target power at all, before you kind of trick yourself into thinking it's okay. Whereas at this point I'm so close now, I can see the top, so I really just need to give it everything. And the mentality shift you get when this happens is like euphoric, because you're not sure if you're going to make it or not, but you're going to give it all. So I also had a power up. I decided not to use it because I thought I just didn't want to. I think it's a bit of a scandalous move, isn't it, to do a sub 1 hour attempt and then use like power ups and stuff. So 100% trainer difficulty, no power ups. I think that's the most legit way you can do it. I know that obviously one of my other attempts was during like some kind of promotion, and there was like double draft on. That's why I'm not showing you that in the bottom right corner, because I don't think that really counts. But here we go, we're getting so close now. Are we on the final stretch? I think we are. We can see those two geezers fighting over the wheel or something at the top. But yeah, there's about to be a lot of red on the graph, because we are at 56 minutes. And once this thing shows up and it says that I'm going to beat the ETA is below 1 hour, that is such a relief. But I do not want to come off the gas. So yeah, try and hold 300 watts all the way to the finish. And now I've kind of set myself a little goal to be sub 58 minutes. And yeah, here we go. Sprint to the finish. Job is done. I hope you enjoyed that, guys. Thanks for watching. It wasn't as painful as I thought it was going to be. But yeah, let me know down below what you think my next goal should be. I'm thinking 55 minutes, but that might be a bit too easy. So yeah, let me know down below if you would like to see another attempt. Yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for all the support. Have a good day.